She walked into the police station and asked to be arrested. No lawyer, no hesitation, just a quiet smile. Then she handed them a key and said, "You'll need this for the house." What detectives found inside that $3 million mansion, the escape made them wish she never opened her mouth. In a quiet, upscale neighborhood, a luxury mansion stood as a symbol of success, wealth, and privacy. Neighbors admired it, realtors envied it, and no one suspected what was hidden behind its polished doors. Everything changed the day a well-dressed woman calmly walked into a police station and confessed to a crime no one had reported yet. At first, detectives thought it was a misunderstanding, or worse, a mental breakdown. But when she handed them a key and directed them to her own home, what they discovered inside turned a routine confession into one of the most disturbing investigations they had ever faced. As the case unfolds, questions begin to surface. Why would someone confess before being accused? And what exactly was she trying to control? Because the truth behind that mansion was far darker than anyone imagined. She didn't look like a killer. That's what Detective Harris would later say, over and over again. The woman sitting across from him had perfect posture, clean hands, calm breathing, no shaking, no panic, no fear, just patience. "My name is Eleanor Voss," she said quietly, "and I think it's time you come to my house." Harris leaned back slightly, studying her. This wasn't how confessions usually started. "What for?" he asked. She slid a silver key across the table. "Because there's something inside you need to see." But that wasn't the worst part. She smiled, not wide, not creepy, just satisfied. And that made the room feel colder. Eleanor Voss lived in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the county. A gated community lined with perfectly trimmed hedges, security cameras, and million-dollar homes. Her mansion stood at the corner lot. Modern architecture, floor-to-ceiling glass, imported stone, estimated value just over $3 million. Neighbors described her as private, but polite. She waved sometimes, one neighbor said. Kept to herself mostly, never caused trouble. No loud parties, no visitors, no drama. Just a quiet, wealthy woman living alone. Or so it seemed. Back at the station, Harris wasn't convinced. "Ms. Voss," he said carefully, "we don't have any reports tied to your name. No missing persons, no disturbances, nothing." "I know," she replied. That made him pause. "Then what exactly are you confessing to?" Eleanor tilted her head slightly. "Murder, silence, the kind that stretches too long." Harris glanced at his partner, Detective Ramirez. Neither spoke for a moment. "Who?" Ramirez finally asked. Eleanor didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at the clock on the wall. "They've been there for a while now," she said softly. "You should probably hurry." That's when Harris stood up. Because something didn't add up. The drive to the mansion was quiet. Eleanor sat in the back seat, hands folded neatly in her lap. No cuffs, no resistance, just that same calm expression. Ramirez kept checking her in the rearview mirror. "You understand," he said, "if this is some kind of joke." "It's not," she interrupted gently. Another silence. Harris tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He'd been a detective for 18 years, and something about this felt wrong. Not chaotic, not desperate. Controlled, too controlled. When they arrived, the house looked exactly as expected. Immaculate, clean, peaceful, nothing out of place. Eleanor stepped out of the car and pointed toward the front door. "It's unlocked," she said. But Harris didn't move right away. He studied the windows, the landscaping, the stillness. No signs of struggle, No broken glass, no urgency, which made everything worse. Because if there was a murder, it hadn't been messy. They entered slowly. The air inside smelled faintly of citrus cleaner. Soft lighting, minimalist decor, everything in its place. Too perfect. Ramirez whispered, "You sure about this?" Harris didn't answer. He just walked deeper into the house. The first sign came in the hallway. A faint mark on the hardwood floor, like something heavy had been dragged. Not recently, but not long ago either. Harris crouched down, running a finger along it. Dust-disturbed movement. "Back here," he said quietly. The trail led to a door at the end of the hall, solid wood and closed. Eleanor stood behind them now, silent, watching. Harris reached for the handle, paused, then opened it. Stairs leading down. Basement. Dark. Cold air rising slowly. Ramirez exhaled. "Of course," he muttered, but that wasn't the worst part. The light switch was already on. For the next 48 hours, the house was torn apart. Walls scanned, floors lifted, every inch examined. And what they found made national headlines. Hidden compartments, soundproof panels, recording equipment, restraints, chemicals, detailed notes. Eleanor hadn't just killed. She had studied, documented, refined. But something didn't add up. Again. Because despite everything, there were no missing persons reports that matched. No names, no identities, nothing. It was like her victims didn't exist. And that's when the first twist hit. One of the victims was reported alive. Harris stared at the file in disbelief. The man in the photo matched one of the images recovered from Eleanor's hidden drives. Same face, same scars, but according to official records, he was alive, working, living normally, which meant one thing. Either the system was wrong, or Eleanor was lying. But that wasn't the worst part. The alive man disappeared the next day. No warning, no trace, gone. And suddenly, Eleanor's story didn't sound so crazy anymore. Back in interrogation, Harris leaned forward. You said there were others, he said. Where are they? Eleanor smiled slightly. Safe. That word echoed in the room. Safe for who? Ramirez asked. Eleanor didn't answer. Instead, she said something else. They weren't random. Harris's stomach tightened. What do you mean? Eleanor leaned in slightly. They were chosen. And just like that, the case changed again. Because now, this wasn't just about murder. It was about motive and selection. And someone out there, still connected to it all. The deeper detectives dug, the stranger it got. Every victim, confirmed or suspected, shared something in common. Not obvious, not surface level, but buried, hidden. Each one had been involved in a case that never went to trial. Accusations dropped charges, settlements, things that disappeared quietly. Until Eleanor, because she hadn't forgotten, and neither had her victims. But that wasn't the worst part. The final twist came from the basement. A hidden recording, one they almost missed. Harris watched it alone. Door closed, lights off. And when it ended, he didn't move. Because in that recording, Eleanor wasn't the one asking questions. She was answering them. And the voice behind the camera was a man they all knew. A man still out there. A man who had never been a suspect. Until now, when Harris walked out of that room, everything had changed. Because Eleanor Voss wasn't the mastermind. She was just part of something bigger. Something that hadn't stopped. And somewhere, in another quiet, perfect home, someone else was still waiting.